Welcome in to another episode of Patrick Jones Baseball. In this week's episode, we have Kevin Soine on the podcast. Kevin is an assistant coach at South Mountain Community College in Phoenix, Arizona. It's one of the top junior college baseball programs in Arizona, and they've sent tons and tons of players on to the Division I level and just have an overall phenomenal program. I was actually able to visit South Mountain Community College a few weeks ago when I was out in Phoenix, and it's a beautiful campus. And I was able to watch practice as well, and they do a great job from a development standpoint. I mean, we walk you through, and Kevin actually walks you through, their philosophy on player development and how they run their practices, but just from a third party watching, it was phenomenal. So I think you're going to really enjoy this episode and hearing more about Kevin's journey to becoming a college baseball coach. So here we go with Kevin Soine. Now, you've been at a really good college baseball program in South Mountain Community College now for several years. And you've also got experience coaching summer baseball, at a high level. But I saw earlier, I was looking you up online, and you're in Arizona now, but you're from, looks like, originally Minnesota.
Yeah, from small town Minnesota. Went to New London Spicer High School. We were a football and basketball school growing up. My senior year, we won state titles in football and basketball. And the community loves baseball, but as far as a high school sport, somewhat of an afterthought. But I grew up with my dad just at the yard all summer long. So I kind of built a love for it when I was little. And when you get summer in Minnesota, I mean, as you know, you got to take advantage of those few months that we can even be outside. Shoot, I got out of school early a couple times in high school because we had to shovel snow off of our field just to play a game.
Jeez. And so, okay, you get done playing high school baseball in Minnesota, what happens next? Are you when you're playing in Minnesota, are you like, man, I got to get out of here for college. I want to go play somewhere warm. What was kind of your thought process, and then what ended up happening?
Man, I didn't think too much about it at that age, to be honest with you. I was actually getting recruited more to play football than I ever was to play baseball, but I always enjoyed baseball more. I knew I maybe had a future in it. Was not recruited really at all. I actually found myself moved to the Twin Cities. I played 2 years at Century College for Dwight Catilla. And the reason that I got hooked up with Dwight at Century is because him and my dad were roommates in college together. Dwight went to Century College, and my freshman year was the first year that we ever had a program at the school. And it was an awesome experience. It was hard. Dwight's a tough coach. He's a great coach, and I learned a lot. It was a culture shock, really. But we got all the way up to ranked, I think, 8th in the country that very first year. When that was my experience into JUCO baseball right away. But I learned so much those first couple years.
And then after those first couple years, what ended up happening next?
Well, I had a decent couple years there at Century. We played well, and then I got an opportunity to go to Grandview University in Des Moines, Iowa. They really take care of their athletes there. It's an NAIA institution. They've won football national titles. Their wrestling team is a national powerhouse. They really take care of their athletes at Grandview University. And man, I had a great time there my 2 years. Play for Hall of Fame coach Lou Yasinich. Everyone knows him as 40. But no, Des Moines was an awesome college town, and I enjoyed playing there. But to be honest with you, kind of, taking baseball farther and kind of making a career out of it was really not something that I had in mind. So when I finished playing in 2014, I finished with a marketing degree from Grandview, and I actually went on to work for a company as a digital marketing coordinator, selling pre-hung doors and crown moldings and all that stuff. I lasted a year, if that.
Wow. So if I talked to Kevin back in 2014 and I would have said, hey, you're actually going to be doing baseball full time, in 10 plus years, you would have been surprised.
Well, I would have been so happy. Probably, I had the biggest smile on my face. Say, you mean it?
Yeah. So you did the marketing, all that stuff for what, a year or two, or how long did that last?
Yeah, I lasted a year, and it was fine, but it's living that cubicle life, 9 hours a day, and that just wasn't my cup of tea. That wasn't for me. I knew that I had to get back into the game somehow. I was still playing in the summertime with like men's leagues and amateur
Yeah.
leagues are pretty popular in Minnesota. But I just knew something was missing sitting in that office every day. And so I finally made the decision. It's like, I'm going to find a way to go back to grad school, see if I can get my degree paid for and see what coaching is all about. So that's when I applied for the GA position at the University of Dubuque rather, and worked under Paul Wachowski for 2 years, which completely changed my life.
Why did it change your life?
Because so Coach Y, as we called him, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better mentor to start my coaching career. He had been around the game a long time. He was actually a GA for Ron Polk at Mississippi State way back in the day. Right. So he had a bunch of good stories to tell me. He had seen the game at a high level, and he actually allowed me to come in, step in and coach outfielders, coach our hitters. And I don't know if you know anything about Dubuque, but it was kind of a sleeping giant. It's a Division III program, but probably some of the best facilities at the Division III level in the country. We were very blessed with what we had. And so he allowed me to kind of get to work, learn, experiment. I mean, he put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, but I thank him for that.
Oh, that's good stuff. Is going the GA route, is that something I feel like I don't hear as much about that now as maybe I'm completely off on that for like guys who graduated. Why did you feel like if you wanted to do baseball full time that the best route would be to go the GA route instead of just becoming a volunteer or something like that right away?
Well, I knew, I don't have that, pro ball or Division I pedigree behind my name, right? So that kind of makes the route maybe a little bit more bumpy than it would otherwise. But a lot of mentors that I talked to, basically said, if you get this master's degree, then that's just going to open doors for you that normally wouldn't be there otherwise, right? And it's going to allow you to make a living at these places and not just be a volunteer assistant where I'm having to find all these odd jobs on the side just to make ends meet basically. I mean, and to be honest, it probably made my parents feel a little bit better about it too.
That's awesome. So you get done with that. You said you were there for 2 years. What ends up going on next? So you immediately find another coaching position, or are you still kind of in that like not sure if you're going to be able to do this coaching thing full time?
Yeah, I was a little bit stuck in limbo. I didn't know what to do, and so I kind of leaned on Coach Wachowski there, just like, man, where do I go from here? I'm about to graduate, and he said, you need to go get a summer ball job. You need to go coach in the summer. And so as soon as he told me that, I applied for a job with the bunch of summer teams, but the first one to call me back was the Martinsville Mustangs in the Coastal Plain League. And one of my best buddies, Danny Higginbotham, he was the head coach at the time, and well, we've now become best buddies. But I just remember that first interview, we got on a call similar to this, and shoot, we just connected right away, talked ball for probably an hour and a half. And then by the end of the call, he offered me a job to come hang out with him for a summer and get paid $1,000 for 3 months of
For the
work
whole summer?
for the whole summer, $1,000. And so I had to do it. I had to take it. And then again, it was a process of trying to, convince my parents that this is the right path. And it ended up being true in my eyes anyways, because I grew up around, the Midwest where the Northwoods League is king, right? And so I didn't have a ton of knowledge about other summer leagues. So I was just kind of throwing darts at the wall across the country to see who would give me a job essentially. And so when I got out there, I didn't fully realize what the Coastal Plain was until opening day. And it was everything I could imagine and then some, right? The crowds are awesome. The talent level there is it's one of the top summer leagues in the country, in my opinion. And getting to know Danny there, I mean, he basically took me under his wing too and just kind of showed me the ropes essentially. And so by the end of that first summer in Martinsville, Danny had gotten the opportunity to go be the head coach with the new team in the league called the Macon Bacon. All right. So Danny was leaving, and then they liked what I did in Martinsville, and they ended up offering me the head job in Martinsville for the following summer. But I was still kind of in limbo during that whole first summer is like, what am I going to do during the school year? And so I'm applying for jobs, trying to talk to people. And I finally got an offer to go coach at Murray State College in Tishomingo, Oklahoma. So after that first summer in Martinsville, went down to Tishomingo, Oklahoma and coached there for a year as well.
Yeah, I resonate with the feeling of the that uncertainty that you're talking about. Where because
Mhm.
I've coached in summer leagues before. I was in the Great Lakes League
Okay.
for a year, the Lima Locos, and so it's kind of like you're in that. It's July, June, July, and it's kind of like, what am I gonna do? Like, can I
Mhm.
make a living still? Do I need to move back home with my parents? Like, there's so many different things that are going on through your mind, and like anxiety. And so it seems like if you just stick with it long enough, it ends up working out. But so you end up going to Oklahoma after that. What division is that?
A Division II JUCO. It's another JUCO
Division
down
two
there.
JUCO.
Yep.
So that was your first year coaching JUCO.
Yep.
Okay.
First year coaching JUCO, I was like the dorm dad there too. So I lived on the third floor with the whole team, doing bed checks at 11:30 every night. But that was a cool place too. It's like we were in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. Tishomingo is like the hometown of Blake Shelton. So he played a couple free shows in town for us. But otherwise, it's a town of about 2,000 people. There's nothing to do there except play baseball, which is perfect for a guy like me. But then I went back to Martinsville the next summer, and that's kind of where I got introduced to Gillum. We met at, it was like an all-star game. Everybody was out and we kind of just met and talked for 10, 20 minutes. And then the following year, everything kind of changed again. So after that second summer that I was the head coach in Martinsville, I actually got offered a different head coaching job in that same summer league with the Holly Springs Salamanders, which is an awesome, awesome situation. Their stadium's great. It's all turf. They're right in that area, like in Chapel Hill and Durham and Raleigh. They're all right there with a bunch of schools. Just a great situation. So I took that opportunity. At the same time, I took a head coaching job at a JUCO near my hometown in Minnesota at Ridgewater College. So I went from Oklahoma back to Minnesota, back to the winter for a year. And it was everything I remembered it to be, the winter, just not fun, right? And so the following summer, when I'm in Holly Springs, Tyler Gillum, they came to play us one day. And him and I are just sitting there chatting. And I just kind of just let it slip like, man, I would really love to get south. Like if I want to make this, if I want to do this for a career, I just think I need to get south. I need to get out of the north. And literally by the end of that day, I had an opportunity to come work at South Mountain just because of talking to Tyler for that, whatever that was, 30 minutes before the game. And, I think that in situations like this, people that are kind of decisive get rewarded. And so as soon as he said I could come, I said, Gilly, I'm in. I like, what is it going to take for me to come down to South Mountain? I think this is a great opportunity. I think I have to do this. And we made it happen. We really didn't know each other. I mean, this is just going to speak to who Gilly is as a person. And you know him. And we had met each other twice. He's offering me a job. And he even told me I could come live with him for 3 weeks before I found a house without even asking his wife first. Like,
And by the way, for those listening or watching this, I know Kevin mentioned him. It's Tyler Gillum. He's now the head coach of the Savannah Bananas is, I believe, his title now, but he coached at South Mountain Community College for a long time and phenomenal guy, phenomenal coach, really progressive. We had him on the podcast when he was at South Mountain, and then we had him on recently with the Savannah Bananas, and yeah, just phenomenal guy. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he was like, oh yeah, come live, and then he didn't even tell his wife. That's hilarious.
well, she had to approve it, but she knows the
Yeah.
deal. She's awesome too. Danielle, she's really cool.
And that was 2019.
That was the COVID year. So my first year here at South was kind of right when the COVID thing started.
And then is it common, Kevin, for junior college coaches to, unless they're if they're like an assistant coach, is it also common for them to have a job at the school too?
I would think so. I think that that's kind of how some programs make it work. So my first, those first couple years here, I mean, I won't lie, it was difficult. I had to, every single weekend I'm working camps, trying to work these different PG tournaments. I had to show up at the school at 5:45 a.m. every day to open up the fitness center. And they only let me get 20 hours a week in there max, right? So, you're trying to figure out ways to make it work, but here's the thing is I ended up leaving Dubuque with my master's degree. So once there became a position open in the athletic department, I jumped all over it. So there was a person in the position that I'm currently in now, the compliance and eligibility coordinator, they were in this position for almost 20 years. And so they decided to go a different direction. I applied for the position and ended up getting it. So here I am now. I handle all the compliance and eligibility in our athletic department, and it allows me to pay the bills. I mean, and just being around South Mountain for as many years as I have, I've become a fan of South Mountain, right? I want all these programs to do well. I want them to be just as successful as we are on the baseball field, right? So I feel like I can have an impact, not just with my guys, but as an athletic department as a whole.
Well, I think it's also kind of cool, and I don't want to put words in your mouth as well, but it definitely feels like you kind of have even like just ownership, like, within the school itself now that your job is within the like you said, within the school, within the athletic department, and it's not just you're not just baseball coach. So, and by the way, like, I was out for those listening or watching, I went to South Mountain Community College last week or the week before. I stopped by to watch you guys practice, and it's a beautiful campus. Like,
Thank you.
a lot of people think junior college, you think, like, run down, like, no, 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 like, beautiful campus, like, the buildings look brand new, like it's phenomenal. And then we'll get to the baseball stuff later on, but I think it's a like beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah. So you mentioned eligibility, compliance. My next question has to be in regards to that, or is like, what are some of the things that jump out at you that listeners could benefit from a compliance or eligibility standpoint? From like, do grades, how much do grades matter in terms of, does it equate to more scholarship money? Like, what are some things that you could share with everybody that you feel like would benefit them now, knowing what you know from an eligibility and compliance standpoint?
Question. I would say, honestly, one of the biggest headaches that we've had in an athletic department is getting our student athletes to send us their official transcripts in a timely manner and through the correct mediums, right? That has always been a struggle for us, in a timely manner, getting these student athletes to send in their transcripts on time, basically, so I can certify them and make sure that they're ready to go. So we as an athletic department have actually attached their transcripts with their physical, right? So obviously, if they don't have a physical on file, they can't participate, they can't practice, they can't do any of that. Well, we've tied their transcripts to that. So even if a student athlete here, if they don't have their transcript turned into me, their official transcript, then they're not allowed to practice, they're not allowed to compete. But the confusing part of all of this is I guess at South Mountain is they're allowed to be registered in classes and do all that without having an official transcript on file, which can be a little bit confusing to the student athlete, right? But in terms of outside of that, and in terms of grades, I think that it's important to have somebody on your staff keeping track of basically the degree progression, I'll say. So like these student athletes need to be making progress towards degrees. Now I don't need to wear out any programs or nothing, but we've had transfers come to us in the past, and we'll look at their transcripts and we're like, dude, what have you been doing for the past year? You know what I mean? Like, you only have 6 credits towards a degree and you've been in school for a whole 2 full-time semesters, right? So I think especially when if you're a player that's looking to go to the junior college route, you have to ask questions when it comes to, how does your program handle the academics? How does your athletic department handle the academic side of things? Do you just send people to the admissions department to meet with the advisors? Or do you have some control of that within your athletic department? And to be honest, I think that that's where South Mountain, that's where we separate ourselves, especially as a baseball program, because our head coach is going to act as all of our players' academic advisor. So we may have them meet with our admissions department just to initially get them set up with enrollment. But when it comes to making sure that these players have all the credits that they need to, number one, graduate, but then number two, get to the Division I level, like, we kind of keep all that in house, and we have multiple sets of eyes on these things all the time. And in my mind, as a JUCO coach, that's a no-brainer, right? Just because the reality of our sport is, like, not everybody's going to have your 34 full scholarships, right? Everybody's not going to be funded in that regards. The academic piece of it is so important, right? I mean, I tell this to every single recruit that walks through our door. If you graduate from South Mountain with a 3.5 GPA and you're a good player, and this Division One team is recruiting this other player who graduated at a 2.5 GPA, they're going to offer the 3.5 GPA 10 out of 10 times, right? Because they can stack academic and athletic money, whereas the other guy, they've got to give a full scholarship to that kid if they want to. So, we try to get in the minds of, what is a Division One coach looking for in terms of, who is their clientele? Who are they looking after or looking for? And I think that the academic piece of it is so huge that needs to be looked at. And I think that everybody thinks that JUCO is equal across the board, but I think a lot of places just kind of leave the academic stuff to the admissions department, to the advisors, and just kind of take a back seat to it. And to be honest with you, I think that's a mistake.
So if I'm a player at, let's just say, another junior college, or maybe I'm a high school player going to a junior college, and let's just say, like, hey, obviously it's not South Mountain. I know you guys would have it taken care of. But heading into that, if I'm at another junior college, do I need to go and meet with or find like whoever the academic advisor is or whoever's in charge of compliance and be like, hey, like, are the classes that I'm taking, like, will those credits transfer if when I do end up leaving this place? Or like, is that the right conversation that they
Sure.
should have?
Well, it all depends. It depends on a few things. So if you're out of high school and you're registered with the clearinghouse and you're considered a qualifier, then that just kind of lessens your load that you would have to take at JUCO to be eligible for D1, right? Because you're already a qualifier, that kind of gives you a little bit of leeway there. But if I'm not a qualifier, which it's okay, most high school students don't go through that process, which is just fine. I mean, I think the one thing that an athlete needs to make clear to whoever their advisor is I need to get out of here in 2 years, right? Because I've sat in on plenty of our meetings with that side of campus and things, and their goal is to get a regular student out of here in 4 years with a degree, right? So they're just living in a completely different world than us. So I think that that's where you start is like, hey, look, I need to get out of here with a degree in 2 years. Have to. That's where it needs to start.
Any other things that you think players should know in terms of transferring GPA, things like that? It sounds like 2.5, you mentioned 2.5 GPA and then 3.5 GPA, and that they would be able to stack scholarships on the 3.5 GPA at the Division One level. So is that the kind of the threshold? Is they need to be shooting for that 3.5 and above?
Well, the basement threshold there to be eligible for Division One is graduating with an AA at a 2.5. 2.5 GPA. That's the basement. If you can get over that 3.0, I think that's where some academic money starts to open up. That 3.0 mark is pretty big.
Parents, are you tired of spending money going from showcase to camp, not even knowing if a coach is even looking for your son's position or even knows his name? One of the reasons that I started my college baseball recruiting service is to help guide families throughout the recruiting process so you're not having to waste money and time going from showcase or camp to camp. If you're interested in hearing more about how I can help your son, head to patrickjonesbaseball.com and fill out the form. That's patrickjonesbaseball.com. Fill out the form right on the homepage, and I'll be in touch. All right, back to the podcast. Have you noticed that the players at South Mountain Community College, since that's your experience, like when they do transfer after those 2 years, from a scholarship standpoint, because I feel like people might want to know this, like, do you feel like they're getting way more scholarship money than someone right out of high school just because they have way more experience? And then, like, what would you say the average kid you think ends up paying at a Division One?
Good question. I mean, it is a spectrum of a way, right? A lot of it has to do with how good you are and how you've performed. But that's essentially how we sell our program and how we keep this moving is we've always been a program that it has had to do more with less, right? So we've been under this Maricopa umbrella. That's our governing body. You know, we're not allowed to give scholarships for housing. We're not basically allowed to cover like what an in-state cost would be, right? So even if we go get somebody from out of state, full rides don't exist in our program, essentially, unless you're a good academic kid that went to a Maricopa County high school. And even then, I can't help you pay for living. But so we always tell people like or recruits that we understand that this is going to be an investment for you on the front end of things. We can't offer you full rides, anything like that. You're going to have to pay for an apartment here because we don't have on-campus dorms or nothing. But understand that we are going to add benefits to you in so many different ways that other programs wouldn't, just because we understand that it is an investment up front. And where you're going to see that payoff is when you leave South Mountain with that Division I scholarship in your hands. I mean, it is really all over the board. So, like last year, we had one of our starting pitchers is going to the University of Utah. I mean, he's getting everything paid for and then some, right? And then I just sent a catcher up to South Dakota State. I mean, he's end up having to pay, man, I think it's a relatively inexpensive school to go to, but I think he's only end up having to pay about 1 or 2 grand a semester to go there, but he is on a good scholarship to go there. Um, you know, we have these talks all the time with our players. I basically am acting as their agent in a way when these negotiations come up. But as a player, I think you've got to understand your worth and know where your leverage is initially. Because, for example, we were supposed to have a returning first baseman come back this year. He was going to be a sophomore. Well, early in the summertime, Pacific Northwest School came and offered him 50% to leave South Mountain after his freshman year. And we sat and talked about it. Well, could be a great opportunity, this and that. But based on the offer, based on what he thought he brings as a player, he said no. And then 2 weeks later, the same school came back and upped their offer to 100% tuition, right? And so then he ended up taking it. And we were nothing but happy for him. And so there's things like that work out all the time. And I think it's a hard question to answer in terms of like, what is the average that people are going to pay? Because it really depends on the school. It depends on the talent level of the player, the Division II, Division I, all that. Like, but I would say, I guess my advice in this topic to somebody looking at this is like, don't get so caught up in the amount of scholarship or the percentage of scholarship that these coaches are offering you. You have to look at what it's going to cost you out of pocket at the end of the day, because such and such school could offer you a bigger scholarship, but you're paying less to go to this other place. And I think that that's what really matters at the end of the day.
Good point. Good point. It's kind of like Shark Tank in the sense
Yeah.
as the player that you just referred to before, where it's like that school came in, offered him 50%. He's like, you know what? No, I'm going to bet on myself here. I'm only a
Yep.
freshman. Like, we'll see what happens. And then 2 weeks later, he just made, I'm sure that equates to, geez, that could have been $80,000 more that he just quite frankly made by betting on himself. And then
Absolutely.
there's times where maybe it doesn't make sense to do that and takes the offer. So every situation is unique and different. But I kind of wanted to transition now and talk about more the coaching side and how you guys go about running the actual baseball side
Yeah.
at South Mountain. Because like I said, I was at practice. One of the things that I noted is like there's always something going on. Like there's really nobody just sitting down chilling. Like there's always. I mean, you're out there like hitting or putting fly balls in the machine directly over the pitchers who are doing PFPs. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I hope Kevin doesn't accidentally like let the machine drop. It would just nail a pitcher right in the head. And so there's stuff going on everywhere. How do you guys come up with the actual practice design and practice plans for like on a daily basis?
Well, that's all credit to Todd Easton, our head coach. Man, he's got this program running. Shoot, he's been here for, I think it's his year 23, 24 now.
Wow.
And shoot, he's still young in my opinion. He like just turned 50, right? And he's just surpassed 800 wins as a head coach, I think already. So he's got this thing figured out, right? And so it's not rocket science, to be honest with you, but we've basically ran the same structure of practice since I've started working here. And what I really like about it is we can just structure practice, but there's freedom for our players to be themselves within this structure, and what I like so much. And kind of one of the ideas always is like we just need to eliminate downtime too, right? So what can we do? So that's always difficult in the Arizona heat, obviously, because we've got to take breaks, and so there is a little bit of that happens. But we like to practice, we like to be out there, but we're not gonna be out there 4, 5, 6 hours a day, right? So we have our structure, we have our plan, and we for the most part, stick to it. Like I remember when I was at JUCO, if we were doing bunt defenses and we couldn't get it right, we were there all night if we had to be, right? And for us, we get so much time to practice outside and be with these guys, and we're out there 6 days a week. And so we just really try hard to stay on schedule, stay on time, understanding if we don't get it perfect today, we also have tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, right? We just try to keep these guys moving. We have to really figure out what we value as a team, right? So, and that's what we're going to base our practices around. So, for example, right after stretch every single day, we're going to do 15, 20 minutes of base running. Just we value base running, and that's all comes from Gillum. When Gillum was here in 2017, we led the country in stolen bases, and he created the green light special, and that's the foundation still of our base running program. So 15, 20 minutes a day, we'll do something base running wise. It'll be in a progression, working, building each day. We're building something new. From there, guys are going to go to their catch play routines. Each position group specifically has their own catch play routine, and it's basically all game like throws. We're not out there getting our arms loose. We're not out there just slinging the rock, doing all that. We are working on specific game like throws at the distances that we're at. And also, like, the big term in our program is no wasted reps. No wasted reps. So anytime you're handling a baseball, you're always doing something with it. Like as far even in catch play, right? I'm transferring, I'm tagging. If I'm a catcher, I'm receiving everything. There's always something to be done on every single rep. Right from there, we're gonna move into we're gonna take a pregame every single day. So this is kind of how you set the tone, in my opinion, on game day. Is if you're crisp, if you're clean, that kind of sets the tone for your whole group for your whole day. And also, we have to get these JUCO players to understand that, like, if a coach comes to watch you play and you don't get a single ground ball that day, the pregame that's your opportunity, right? So it has to be clean, it has to be crisp, but we have to look like we're a professional club out there when we take pregame. So we do it every single day. And if it's not up to our standard, we start over and we do it again until it's up to standard. From there, we'll go into, since we're in the fall, this is a lot of development phase. So we'll go right into like a position defensive session where we're breaking down specific positional stuff. We feel very blessed to have multiple infield coaches with us. Coach Kaler isn't with us yet. Cole Kaler, he's playing indie ball with the Long Island Ducks right now. But once he gets here, we'll actually have multiple infield coaches. So we actually will be able to not even just break down infielders and outfielders, but we have the ability to break down middle infielders, corner infielders, and have those guys get specific detailed work to their position too. And then from there, we might do team defensive session. Usually in the fall, we don't do much team defensive sessions. It's just all development and figuring out how guys can become better individual players. And then we kind of go into our BP sessions, right? And there's always going to be a group on the field. There's going to be a group in the cages. There's going to be a group on the mini field doing bunting. And then all of our defensive groups during BP are treating it as game-like. There's no shagging. There's no standing around. We have pitchers standing on bases so guys can actually make game-like throws during BP. And on the flip side of that, with the pitchers, I started coaching pitchers 4 years ago now. And one of the first things I noticed or that made my skin crawl was just watching pitchers just shag fly balls for 2 hours at the end of every day. To me, it seemed like such a waste of time. And so we actually have multiple different groups with our pitchers as well. So we're not wasting time. So during this time, I actually give pitchers they go in groups, but I give them time to go up to our training room, get treatment with Angela, our trainer, if they need to. I have them set up with kind of a post throw arm flush, get the blood moving, get the recovery process started. Then they're going to come with me in the dugout and we're going to do 15, 20 minutes every day of some sort of mental performance for these pitchers. We're, talk about different situations, do different exercises, things like that. But then I will have a group that I call help the hitters. So they'll just stand on the base or they'll hit a fungo even. But I mean, you're exactly right. A big priority of our practices and program is like, let's try to eliminate stand around time if we can.
Yeah, that was really well said, and thanks for breaking all that down. In terms of the mental performance piece, I know you said you work with the pitchers on that. That's kind of like one of the stations. Does someone or do you do that with the hitters as well? And then like, what does that exactly look like?
So the hitters coach Lane Harvey, he kind of takes the hitters, and I don't know if he's done any of that stuff with them now, but I know that our head coach, he's going to start taking basically again the foundations of what Gillum has made with his growth toolbox. Our head coach will kind of take that over those classroom sessions with the whole team, not just the hitters, not just the pitchers, but we'll talk about a bunch of different stuff in those sessions, and a lot of it, yes, it has to do with being a baseball player, but a lot of it has to do with growing into being an adult and just being a professional and taking care of your responsibilities, right? So we'll talk about time management, and we'll talk about nutrition, we'll talk about focus and concentration, coming in and out of focus, right? That's when I'm talking to the pitchers, that's mainly what I'm talking to them about and what we do in these mental performance stations. So big Brian Kane fan. I take a lot of stuff from him. We do concentration grids at least every other day, if not every day. And the reason that we do these grids and what I've found to like about them is we don't practice them just to get good at doing concentration grids. Do we know what a concentration grid is, first of all? Should I explain what that is?
Yeah, yeah. That's actually what my first follow up was going to
Okay,
be.
so a concentration grid is basically it's just a 10 by 10 table on a piece of paper with hunt like 00 up to 99 all in box, just scrambled, right? And so I'm gonna put each player on the clock, and when I say go, the only goal is to find 00, 01, 02, all the way up to 99, and just see how fast they can do it, right? And so what ends up happening is their first time they do it, they get a terrible time, right? It takes them probably over 10 minutes to do it. And usually they'll start talking throughout it, they'll start giggling, they'll start talking to their buddy next to them, and their score will be terrible, right? And then so I have to say, like, we don't do this just to get better at doing grids. We're doing this because when you hit adversity, when the game speeds up on you, you have to be able to find this level of focus and concentration from within you, right? We can't always just rely on the environment to provide this for us, right? So the example that I give is like, you're coming in the bottom of the ninth inning, you're up by one, you're coming in to close out the game and get the W for the boys. Like that's such an easy situation to be locked in, right? In my opinion. I think it's a much more difficult situation when maybe you're a starter, you're in the second inning, you just walk the first two guys, then your shortstop boots a ball, then the umpire's strike zone is a shoebox, right? That is a much more difficult situation to navigate. And nobody's immune to these types of situations either. And so we have to be able to have a strategy, have a place to go that can come from inside of us and not just reacting to what's going on around us, right? We have to be able to enter that zone whenever we want to enter it, essentially. And so we practice this all the time. It's like, get your mind right, get locked in, figure out a way to put yourself into that headspace so that you can, whenever you need it, you can go grab it.
Love that so much. And it's also similar from a position player standpoint too, where it's kind of like, you've heard before, at least if I've always heard, where it's like, you're getting ready, you're kind of in your position wherever you're at. And then like once the pitch is thrown, the batter fouls it off. You walk maybe outside of your circle,
Hmm.
let your mind rest for a second, and then walk back in when you step in your circle, like wherever that is in your position. It's kind of similar to what you're talking about. And I love it. I mean, I eat this stuff up, the mental performance stuff. I love Brian Kane too. I've had him on the
Hmm.
podcast and I think he's great. Love this stuff. Is that something that you feel like kids coming into college, coming into South Mountain Community College, that's something that's a low hanging fruit for a lot of them? Like they could improve that. They could start working on that more in high school. Or do you think that's something that's just kind of, hey, a lot of times they got enough things to worry about? Like if you were a high school player or you were working with a high school player, what would be something that you would recommend that they do and work on based on everything you've seen from a player development standpoint?
Great question. Yeah, I definitely think that high school players should be digging into the mental game, especially if they want to play past college or past high school rather. Because I didn't get introduced to the mental game until like my junior senior year of college, and that just like blew my mind, right? I was like, where have I been this whole time, right? So it was like my senior year of college. I think I bought a book by Ken Ravizza, and it just opened up a whole new world for me, right? And I think that any high school player that is making that a priority in their development, is working on the mental game, I think you're just giving yourself an edge, because that's not a common thing for high schoolers to be worried about, is the mental side of things. And any if any programs are doing this for their players, please feel blessed that you're in that program, because I don't think it is the norm. Um,
No, yeah, it's not sexy and but to your point, I mean, I think of a story not even that long ago. We had Brett Wallace on the podcast. He's the hitting coach at Cal Berkeley, and he was two-time Pac-12 Player of the Year at Arizona State. So I mean, first round pick, played in the big leagues. And I thought it was interesting because I asked him on there about something, a similar question of like, what is there anything that you wish you would have started earlier? And he didn't say specifically mental performance. He said some other stuff via hitting. Like I think it was like understanding his swing or mechanics or something like that. But I thought it was interesting too, where it was like, man, there's a guy, he was two-time Pac-12 Player of the Year, wishing he would have worked on specific things at that point, not because it would necessarily benefit him at that point, but it would have benefited him years down the road when he was a major leaguer.
right,
And so it is about, because and when you don't think you need to work on something, like let's just say you're playing for you, Kevin, and you're hitting 340 with 10 bombs, and it's like mental performance, like really, like I'm crushing it, right? It's like, yeah, right now you are, just like right now in high school you are, but I can promise you, having been fortunate enough to be around some big leaguers and even all stars, is like it's going to get hard. And if you don't have those tools, then
right.
you're going to be looking around left and right looking for answers. So I think that's great advice from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a part of that too is, I think a lot of kids kind of have this, fantastical idea of what a Division 1 program is going to be. And like, I'm going to get all this one-on-one attention, and like, I'm going to be having somebody to tell me what to do all the time, and they're going to make me a big leaguer. And that's just, I mean, maybe in some programs that's the case, but it's really not like that, right? So I tell all my pitchers that, like, by the end of your 2 years here with me, my only goal for you is to, number one, just be able to learn about yourself as much as you possibly can. Like learn how your body moves, learn how your mind works, figure out strategies that you can be successful with. When they leave our program, I want them to be able to basically be their own coach, right? Not having to just rely on these other coaches, on other mentors and things. I want guys to learn about themselves so that they can get themselves to where they want to go. And so we talk about that a lot. We just basically, I just want to deliver knowledge, teach these guys as much as they can, because all of our guys want to play professional baseball. They want to play Division 1 baseball, and they're not going to get there. Like, they're going to take themselves there. That's my opinion.
Yeah, you've obviously sent a ton of guys on to play Division 1 college baseball, and guys getting drafted. I mean, would you say for the most part, from a development standpoint, like there's not a ton of development going on just because they're having to be in a win now mentality, or is it just half and half? Like when you talk to the players who you've sent on, over 50 players or however many it's been the last couple of years,
Hmm.
Division 1, what's been the common theme from what they feel like they're getting from the development side?
You mean like at that 4 year school?
Yeah, yeah,
It's it's hit or miss. It's hit or
yeah.
miss, honestly. I think it ultimately comes down to, well, here's what I'll say. I'll say that the best players that have come through our program that have gone to be successful Division 1 players are, number one, the players that they take ownership in their own careers, right? And we tell our guys that every day. And I think it's maybe an adjustment, that because some guys are so used to just, oh, I'm going to do what coach says, I'm going to do what coach says. But we tell guys, even in the recruiting process here, we're different here because we really understand that it's your career. It's not mine. It's not Todd's. It's not, any of our other coaches. It's your career. And if you want to get to where you need to go, like, yes, we can set up the structures for you, and we've got a nice weight room and all that. But at the end of the day, it's on you to use it. It's on you to It's on you to be curious. It's on you to ask questions. It's on you to take care of your nutrition when you go home. It's on you to sleep at night, get your 9 hours. So it's like that whole thing, like you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? The players that I've seen that have been the most successful are just players that's what they understand is like, if I want to get to the Division 1 level, if I want to get to pro ball, nobody else is going to do it except me.
Love it. Phenomenal stuff. Kevin, thanks so much for coming on. I mean, I feel like this episode alone, I feel like I could send to anybody and be like, they should be like, I want to go play at South Mountain Community College right away, which is great in the way it should be. I mean, from
Yeah.
everything that I've seen and talked to and just my own personal experience. So thank you so much for coming on. If someone wants to learn more about the program, like where should they go? Is there certain social media they should follow or anything like that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at CatchBot27. I'm on there somewhere. You can find me. My email is online. Please reach out to me. I mean, really anything. I'm a ball coach and I love to talk ball. So I've coached literally every position at the college level now since I've been with pitchers. I've spoken multiple times on catching. So anybody that has questions, that wants to talk ball, please reach out to me via Twitter or on my email. I'm not hard to find. Thanks, Patrick.